Hole number 8 is a par 4. If we had some different wind, and even with this, it does open up the possibility to try and do something on the left there, but it's kind of a risky play. You'd be using a bunch of right spin with right curl, and even if you hit it and land in the fairway, you're still going to end up with a long iron. So I think this is the safer way to play it. Don't use too much topspin here. Basically, we're going to land on this first stretch and bounce it up onto that strip of fairway, up over the trap. You want to use about 5 bars of topspin and 1 to the left to compensate for that push from the wind. I used a little baby curl to compensate for it as well, but it doesn't look like that'll be necessary. So just basically, you don't want to roll through, so don't use too much topspin. It's just under a maximum distance for our driver, so even though it's downhill, and when we were playing it on Tour 12, we were playing it about a plus 20% adjustment, and this shot wasn't really possible if we had too much headwind. But from the second tees, even though it's downhill, because it's under a maximum distance for our driver, you can basically just play it as a max. Instead of trying to play it in between mid and max and adding 20%, if you just play it as a maximum, it works out just fine, because being shorter but then having the downhill over adjustment, it works out pretty much the exact same way. So we safely find the fairway with both of our drives, and that's going to give us a sniper in for our second shot. So as you can see, it's about a mid-range adjustment, so it's going to be about at 1-to-1, but being over water and plus 10%, maybe just a little bit uphill. If you're going to play it further, you might not have to do that, but playing it down here at a mid-range and rolling it up there, I think is the best way to do this. So just if you do try your adjustment, that's something to watch out for there. When you rotate it, those cliffs behind it could get in your way, and it kind of makes things a little bit funky when you're trying to adjust for your wind. I didn't have that issue on the second one, so I just adjusted it 1-to-1 with an offset just a little bit to the left to compensate for the push from the wind. And even though I hit it great right, it ends up lipping out on the left side here. This drive didn't go quite as far as my other one, so it's going to kind of depend on where your drive ends up for how much you're going to want to offset. You see how with this one being a little bit further, it's pushing it further to the right, as opposed to more of a tailwind almost, or a headwind, excuse me, for the other one. It's just ends up being a little bit different. So but because that first one, I went 1-to-1, hit it great right, and with it offset left, and it lipped out to the left, I figured I would just play this one straight at it and see what happens. Still playing it 1-to-1. It does push it past to the right, so it's going to be one that we're going to have to kind of dial in as we go throughout the week. Just a little bit offset to the left is I think how we're going to end up playing it, but we'll figure it out.